Hey friend, and welcome back to Christian Podcasting Secrets. I'm your host, Tammy Munson, and today we are diving into how to develop a podcast brand with purpose. Unfortunately, this is one of those topics that new podcasters do not spend much time on. Now, when we think about our brand, especially in podcasting, anything, your brand is not just your logo or the colors that you like. It's the heartbeat of your podcast. It reflects your values and the message that you want to deliver to the world. Kind of like how our faith guides our daily actions, the decisions that we make, the things that we do. So today we are talking all about branding here on the show. We're going to talk about some of the mistakes that I'm currently seeing these days with new podcasters and some of the steps that you can take to ensure that your brand is strong, purposeful, and impactful. So grab your favorite beverage and settle in. Let's get to it, y'all. All right, we're going to kick today off with a little heart-to-heart. Consider it some bossiness from your favorite Enneagram 8, but it's about some of the things that I'm seeing with new podcasters when it comes to branding. Now, before I get into all the things, let me say that these are super common. I am not picking out any one person or podcast or anything like that. So if you are nodding your head as you listen, know that you are not alone and I am not singling anybody out with this. Okay. A lot of the new podcasters that I get the opportunity to talk to, whether a launch client, a podcast audit, or even just some coaching, what I'm seeing is they are jumping in without a clear mission and vision. Now, I totally get it. You are super excited. You're ready to get started. You've got that message that is burning in your heart, and you cannot wait to hit the record button and to get that puppy launched, right? But here's the thing. Without a clear mission and vision, your brand is going to feel scattered. It's not going to be cohesive at all. It's like trying to bake a cake without the recipe. And you might just end up with a big, hot mess instead of a masterpiece. Another thing that I'm seeing is overcomplicating the visuals. Y'all, I have seen some new podcasters go absolutely crazy with the colors and the font and the graphics and all the text, and they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at their logo, their cover art, etc. And what is the result? It is a cluttered, hot mess rather than a clean, memorable brand. I don't know who came up with this line, but I love it. The KISS method, keep it simple, silly. Some people use a different word. Think of your visuals like an outfit. You want it to be stylish, not overwhelming. Another one is, and this is a big one, not tuning into their audience or doing the research into their audience. Maybe you don't have an audience already, but you still need to look into who are you talking to? What is the information that you need in order to meet them where they are? I see so many new podcasters who are focused on what they think is cool or on trend, and they forget to actually ask the people they're trying to serve what they actually want and need. That's like planning a surprise party without knowing if the guest of honor even likes surprises. Your audience is your ministry. So don't forget to engage with them, listen to them, and let their needs guide your content. Yes, it is your show, and you get to be the driver of a lot of those things. But you still have to reach out, do the research, ask them, what do they want? But here's the good news about all of this. All of these things can be fixed 110% with a little bit of intention and a lot of prayer. So I want you to take a moment to slow it down, seek God's direction, and think about a couple of these things. What is the message that God has placed on your heart? Who are you speaking to? And how can you best serve them, whatever that group is? Because by focusing on your mission and keeping your visuals simple and aligning with that message, and you're really listening to what your audience is telling you, you can create a brand that's not just strong and impactful, but also deeply authentic that honors God. Like I said, if any of these resonate with you, don't worry, friend. You are in the right place because we're going to get into that right now. Now, we know what a brand is. Let's talk a little bit more about defining what that is. You need to have your clear mission and vision. Basically, there's two questions involved here. What are you doing and where are you going? And your mission and your vision are your plans. They guide everything that you do with your podcast. But you've got to know who you're talking to, right? So I covered mission and vision in a past episode of Christian Podcasting Secrets. And then last week, we also talked about identifying that target audience and finding your podcast niche. Now, not everybody's going to have the same one. It's kind of like you are having delivered the sermon, but you need to know who's going to be sitting in the pews. Just like you do for any speech that you may give, for anything that you're writing, you need to know who they are. What are their needs? What are their struggles? What are their obstacles? And what are they looking for? Because when you know your audience, you can speak directly to them. You can meet them where they are, and you can serve them in a way that truly matters. So when we think about some of this, Jesus comes to the forefront of my mind because he was all about meeting people where they were. He didn't wait for them to come to him. He went to them. And we need to do the same thing with our podcast and the content for our podcast. Let's talk about brand voice. This is all about how you talk to your listeners. Is it casual and friendly? Like we're just two friends chatting over coffee? Or is it more formal and authoritative? Now, some of this is going to depend on the type of podcast that you have. If you have a solo podcast like this, it may just be more casual or it may be more formal. It just kind of depends. If you have an interview-based podcast, that, of course, is going to be like two friends chatting over coffee, right? So think about the type of podcast that you have and what that brand voice wants to be. Now, no matter what, your brand voice should reflect who you are, as well as the message that God has given you to share with your audience. And that is something that we aim for with our brand voice. Something full of grace and what resonates with our listeners. So keep that in mind as you're developing that. Now, let's talk visuals. Your cover art is going to be the first thing that people see when they're looking for a new podcast. You want it to be simple. You want it to be memorable. And you want it to reflect your brand's mission and vision. So it's like the face of your podcast. So when you're designing that cover art, you want to consider colors, fonts, and symbols that speak to the heart of your message. For this show, we utilize a lot of things that we utilize for Wildfire Creative Company because it is a podcast that has a lot to do with what we do at Wildfire. I do for Wildfire and the types of clients that we serve. It invites people in, and you want it to be eye-catching and representative of your podcast content. So you're going to hear me talk about this word a lot, consistency. You need to make sure that your visuals are consistent with the rest of your branding, your brand voice, the colors, all those kinds of things, so that when people see it, they know exactly what they're getting. You also want to incorporate you into your cover art so that people start to connect your face along with what they're seeing. Like I said, You're going to hear me talk a lot about the word consistent or consistency because really it's, especially in branding, it is one of the main things that you can do, that your brand should look and feel and sound the same no matter where people find you, whether it's on your podcast. So whether they're listening through Apple or Spotify, they find your website, they're connecting with you through social media, you are the same person, the same version, no matter where you are or who you're with. Your authenticity is crucial. 110%. So how do you bring your brand to life through your content? You bring it through every episode, every social media post, and every interaction needs to reflect your brand, your voice. Like I said, this is where the mission and the vision come into play. They guide everything that you create. It's kind of like how the disciples carried out Jesus' mission after he ascended. They stayed true to the message that he gave them. And that's what we need to do with our branding. It's as simple as that. Consistency. Your online presence is an extension of your brand, and everything should align with that identity, whether it's your website, your social media, your email newsletters, the music that you're going to use on your podcast. All of it needs to be cohesive. So think of it as building your ministry. Every part of it should reflect the heart of your message. It needs to be the same across the board. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6 says this, "In all ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." When we acknowledge God in our branding and online presence, he's going to give us the right direction. He's going to guide us in the right direction. One of the last pieces about all this is how you engage with your audience, because your brand isn't about you or the colors or the logo or any of those things, right? It's about the community that you're building. So at every touch point, you want to create an experience that reflects your brand. Doesn't matter where. Email, social media, podcast episode, in person, wherever it may be, you're going to have the same version of that. So friends, if you don't remember anything else, because I know I gave you a lot of stuff today, here it is. Branding is all about creating a clear, consistent, and God-honoring identity for your podcast. That's it. So I want you to take your time with the process. Don't rush it. There's no need to. Pray about it. Seek God's guidance and ensure that it reflects God's message that he put on your heart. And the other thing is your brand will evolve over time, just like you do. The most important thing to this is that you keep it aligned with your mission and don't be afraid to adjust as you grow, as your podcast grows. So friend, I hope that you found this episode helpful today. If you want more tips and support on branding your podcast, I would love if you would come and join our community on Instagram. You can find us at Wildfire Creative Co. on Instagram. I would love to hear all about your podcast journey, answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to DM me on Instagram, and I would love to chat with you. So have a great week, and I will talk to you next Wednesday. Bye, y'all.